Did you know your body has the ability to regenerate itself even at 60, 70, or beyond? This isn't an empty promise or some modern-day illusion. It's biology. Inside, you are stem cells, those silent builders your body uses to repair tissue, renew organs, and keep alive that spark of vitality you hold so dear. The problem isn't that they disappear with age. The problem is that they go dormant. And today, we're going to talk about how to wake them up. Because what most people don't know is that certain drinks, some known for thousands of years by civilizations that understood the body in ways we're only beginning to rediscover, have the power to stimulate those cells, multiply them, and create the perfect conditions for your body to renew itself from within. These aren't exotic drinks you need to hunt down in specialty stores. They're simple, accessible ingredients you may already have in your kitchen or can easily find at any market. The Stoics understood something that modern science is confirming with growing force. Taking care of the body isn't vanity, it's wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that the soul needs a strong body to fulfill its purpose in the world. And Seneca, with that precision he was known for, said that neglecting the temple we inhabit is the first way we abandon ourselves. In this video, you'll discover 6 drinks the ancients knew well and that today's science supports. Each one works differently in your body, awakening renewal processes that may have been dormant for years. And I'm going to ask you to stay until the end, because the 6th drink is a surprise, something very few people in the Western world know about, but that ancient civilizations guarded as one of their most treasured secrets of longevity. Only those with the commitment to stay will reach it. As the ancients used to say, knowledge belongs to those who seek it. Let's begin with the first drink, and it's one whose color tells you something before you even taste it. If there's one ingredient that appears in nearly every ancient health tradition around the world, from India's Ayurvedic medicine to the remedies of Tibetan monks, to the Mediterranean kitchens that gave birth to Hippocrates, that ingredient is turmeric. And what we're going to explore now is how to turn it into a drink your body can absorb deeply and efficiently, because there's a secret to how it's prepared that very few people know, and it makes all the difference. This drink is called golden milk. Its main active ingredient, curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, has received growing scientific attention in recent years. What researchers have found is remarkable. Curcumin has the ability to activate certain mechanisms in the body that regulate the survival and multiplication of stem cells. Studies published in the journal Stem Cell Research and Therapy have shown it can stimulate the growth of neural stem cells, the ones responsible for keeping brain tissue alive and active. In other words, we're not just talking about a natural anti-inflammatory, which it is, and one of the most potent ones that exists. We're talking about a substance that literally tells your body to keep building, keep repairing, don't give up. Epictetus would have put it this way: focus on what is within your control, and you can control what you put into your body every morning. But here's something most people don't know. Curcumin on its own is hard to absorb. The body processes it quickly and eliminates it before it can do its full work. However, there's a simple trick that changes everything. Black pepper. A compound it contains called piperine increases curcumin absorption by up to 900%. And if you add a healthy fat, like coconut oil or whole milk, absorption increases even further. To prepare this drink, you simply heat a cup of milk, whether cow's, almond, or coconut milk, based on your preference. Add a teaspoon of turmeric powder, a generous pinch of black pepper, half a teaspoon of coconut oil, and if you want a warmer flavor, and an extra layer of benefits, a pinch of cinnamon. Mix everything well and heat on low for about 3 minutes without letting it boil. That's it. You can sweeten it with a touch of honey. 1 cup each morning, taken slowly, is all you need. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what we do each day with consistency is what defines us, and that consistency applied to caring for the body is the same virtue the Stoics applied to every area of life. It's not about doing something extraordinary once, it's about that small gesture, repeated with intention, that over time transforms what we are on the inside. Golden milk isn't a trend. It's a reminder that the ancients knew something we are only now beginning to measure with laboratory instruments. But stimulating stem cells isn't enough if the body's internal environment isn't ready to receive them. And that's exactly what the second drink is all about. Imagine you want to plant a garden. You have the best seeds in the world, the most resilient, the most full of life. But if the soil is hard, saturated with waste, with no room to breathe, those seeds aren't going to grow the way they should. The same is true of your stem cells. There's no point in stimulating them if your body's internal environment is saturated with toxins and chronic inflammation. Before you can multiply, you have to prepare the ground. And that is exactly what this second drink does. Dandelion tea is one of those remedies that folk medicine in Europe and the Americas has known for centuries, but that modern science was slow to take seriously. Today, that gap is being closed in a big way. Research published in the journal Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine has shown that dandelion compounds have powerful effects on the liver, the organ that most influences the quality of the internal environment where your cells develop. Taoism has a teaching that fits perfectly here. Before you can fill, you must empty. Before you can build, you must clean. This philosophy, which sees the body as a system in constant flow, understood that accumulation is the enemy of renewal. And dandelion works exactly as that quiet cleanser that prepares the way. What this plant does is stimulate the production of bile, the substance the liver produces to break down fats and eliminate metabolic waste. When the liver is functioning well, the whole body benefits. The blood is purified, inflammation decreases, and stem cells find a more receptive environment to become active. It also contains compounds called inulin and luteolin that act as natural prebiotics, nourishing the gut flora, that internal ecosystem which more and more studies are directly linking to the health of stem cells in the intestines and the immune system. Preparing this infusion is very simple. You can use dried dandelion root or dried dandelion leaves, available at herbalist shops, natural food stores, or even some supermarkets. Boil a tablespoon of the dried plant in 2 cups of water for 10 minutes. Strain, let it rest for a few minutes, and drink slowly. You can add a squeeze of lemon to enhance its cleansing effect, or a teaspoon of honey if you find the flavor too bitter at first. Ideally, drink it on an empty stomach before breakfast, at least 3 or 4 times a week. Seneca said that the health of the soul begins with the health of the body, and the health of the body begins with what we choose to do with it each day. This infusion is an act of choice. It's telling your body that you won't let it become overwhelmed, that you'll clear the ground where life renews itself. Dandelion grows in the most unexpected places, through cracks in the pavement, along the edges of roads, in corners no one tends to, and yet it blooms. Perhaps there's a lesson there that goes beyond botany. With the ground prepared and the cells awakened, the next step is to activate something even deeper. And for that, there's a drink that Eastern monks turned into a ritual spanning thousands of years. For more than 4,000 years, Zen monks in Japan began every morning with the same ritual. They heated water, whisked an intense green powder into a delicate foam, and drank it in silence. That act, repeated consistently over the course of decades, was part of a way of life that produced some of the most lucid minds and longest-lived bodies history has ever recorded. They didn't do it as a trend. They did it because they knew that something in that green brew kept them whole. We're talking about matcha, and there are very concrete reasons why it deserves a place on this list. Unlike regular green tea, where the leaves are steeped and then discarded, matcha is consumed whole, in powdered form. That means when you drink a cup, you're taking in the full range of compounds from the leaf, not just the ones that dissolve in water. And among those compounds is one that has captured the attention of scientists who study cellular aging, epigallocatechin gallate, more simply known as EGCG. Research published in the journal Cell Reports has shown that EGCG has the ability to activate cellular pathways related to autophagy, that internal process by which cells clean out their own damaged components and renew themselves from within. Autophagy, which earned Japanese scientist Yoshinori Ozumi the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2016, is one of the most powerful mechanisms the body has for extending cellular health, and matcha stimulates it naturally. But there's something else that makes this drink special, and it has to do with how it makes you feel. Matcha contains a unique combination of caffeine and an amino acid called L-theanine. The caffeine activates you. The L-theanine calms you. Together, they produce a state Zen monks knew well, and that neuroscience today describes as calm alertness, a clear mind, a relaxed body, sustained energy without the anxiety that sometimes comes with coffee. Marcus Aurelius spoke of calm as a necessary condition for wisdom. Matcha, in its own way, creates that condition in the body. To prepare it, you simply need half a teaspoon of good quality matcha powder, which you can find at natural food or Asian grocery stores. Place it in a cup, add a small splash of hot water, not boiling, but around 175 degrees Fahrenheit, because water that's too hot destroys some of its active compounds. Whisk vigorously using a small whisk or a fork until it dissolves and forms a small foam. Then fill the rest of the cup with more hot water or plant-based milk if you prefer a milder flavor. You can sweeten it lightly with honey. 1 cup a day, in the morning or mid-morning, is enough. Epictetus said that consistency in small acts is the root of all transformation. And matcha is exactly that, a small daily act with an impact that accumulates quietly, renewing cells, sharpening the mind, sustaining vitality, one sip at a time. The ancients had no laboratories, but they had the ability to observe, to listen to the body, to trust what nature offers. They drank this green brew and lived to tell the tale. Now we know why. We've awakened the cells, prepared the ground, and activated the processes of deep renewal. But there is a place in the body that controls everything, a center the ancients sensed, and that modern science has confirmed with astonishment. The next drink goes directly to that place. There is something the ancients understood intuitively that modern science took centuries to prove, that inside us lives an ecosystem. Not a metaphor, but a real ecosystem, with trillions of microorganisms that determine, in large part, how we age, how we think, how we become inflamed, and how our cells regenerate. And for thousands of years, civilizations from every corner of the world found a way to care for that internal ecosystem through fermented foods. The drink we're going to explore now has been with us for more than 2,000 years. It's called kefir, and though the name might sound unfamiliar, it's actually one of the most accessible foods that exist. It's made with milk and small grains that can be found at natural food stores, through neighbors who share them, or even at some supermarkets. It's alive, literally, and that life is exactly what makes it so valuable. Kefir is a fermented drink that contains a far greater diversity of beneficial bacteria and yeasts than regular yogurt. Research published in the journal Frontiers in Microbiology has shown that regular consumption of kefir can profoundly alter the composition of the gut microbiome, increasing the presence of bacterial strains that produce anti-inflammatory compounds and communicate directly with the stem cells lining the intestine. That communication is no small thing. The intestine renews its entire lining every few days, and intestinal stem cells are responsible for that process. When the microbiome is healthy, those cells work with precision. When it's compromised, the process becomes slow and incomplete. But the benefits of kefir don't stop at the gut. Recent studies have begun to explore what scientists call the gut-brain axis, that highway of signals connecting the digestive system with the nervous system. What happens in the gut directly affects the brain, mood, mental clarity, and the systemic inflammation that underlies many chronic diseases associated with aging. Epictetus said that wisdom begins with understanding what is connected, and few connections in the human body are as profound as the one between the gut and everything else. Making kefir at home is simpler than it sounds. You just need to get kefir grains, which look like small cauliflower florets. Place a tablespoon of grains in a clean jar, add a cup of milk, whether cow's, goat's, or coconut milk depending on your tolerance. Cover the jar with a thin cloth so it can breathe, and leave it at room temperature for 24 hours. The next day, strain out the grains, which you can reuse, and the resulting drink is ready. It's slightly tangy, thick, with a flavor reminiscent of yogurt, but more complex. You can drink it on its own, blend it with a little fruit, or stir in a teaspoon of honey. If you'd rather not make it at home, you can also find it ready-made at many natural food stores, but make sure it's a real kefir with live fermentation, not a pasteurized version that has lost its active cultures. Marcus Aurelius wrote that strength doesn't come from what the body has, but from what the body is capable of renewing. And kefir, in its quiet effervescence, is a reminder that renewal happens in the most intimate places, in the corners of the body we can't see, but that hold up everything we can. Drinking this sacred beverage is caring for the foundation. It's building from within. And when the foundation is strong, the body can ignite something more. The energy that fades over the years but never disappears entirely. The fifth drink targets exactly that. There is a color in nature that the ancients associated with life, with blood, with the force that runs through the veins and doesn't give up easily. It's red, and there is a small fruit, almost humble in appearance, that concentrates within it one of the most impressive collections of anti-aging compounds nature has ever produced. That fruit is the pomegranate, and the juice extracted from it is what this fifth drink offers. Pomegranate juice isn't just a beverage. It's what researchers in the field of cellular aging call an activator of urolithin a compound the body produces when it metabolizes certain polyphenols found in pomegranate, and which has shown in clinical studies an extraordinary ability, stimulating mitophagy, the process by which cells eliminate their damaged mitochondria and replace them with new, efficient ones. That term may not be familiar to you, but what it describes certainly is. Mitochondria are the energy centers of every cell. They are what produce the energy that lets you get up in the morning, walk, think, feel. Over time, those mitochondria deteriorate, accumulate damage, lose efficiency, And when mitochondria fail, the cell fails. When enough cells fail, the body starts to feel it. The fatigue, the sluggishness, that sense that something has slowly gone dim, all of that has a great deal to do with mitochondria that no longer perform the way they once did. The pomegranate tells the body it's time to renew those energy centers. It's no coincidence that this fruit appears throughout history with such persistence. The Egyptians buried it alongside their pharaohs as a symbol of eternal life. The Greeks associated it with the eternal cycle of death and rebirth. In traditional Persian medicine, it was used to strengthen the blood and extend vitality. Studies published in the journal Nature Medicine have shown that urolithin A, produced by consuming pomegranate, can improve muscle function and physical endurance in older adults, with effects comparable to certain levels of moderate exercise. We're not talking about a marginal effect, but about how drinking pomegranate juice regularly can help maintain more functional muscle mass, more sustained energy, and a body that responds better to the demands of daily life. Preparing the juice is very simple. Take a ripe pomegranate, cut it in half, and squeeze it like an orange. Or you can remove the seeds and blend them with a small splash of water, then strain and drink. The flavor is intense, slightly tart and sweet at the same time. With that depth, only things that have spent a long time in the earth before reaching your hands can have. If you want to soften it, you can mix it with a little water and a touch of honey. A glass 4 or 5 times a week is enough to start feeling its effects, preferably in the morning or mid-afternoon. Seneca said that nothing revitalizes the spirit quite like the certainty that you still have the strength to keep going. And pomegranate juice, in its vivid color and inner richness, is exactly that certainty made into a drink. A reminder that youth is not an age, but a cellular state. And that state, with the right choices, can be kept alive far longer than most people believe. We've reached the end of the journey we promised at the beginning. 5 powerful drinks, 5 ways of speaking to the body in the language it has always understood. But I said from the start there would be a 6th, and a promise is a promise. This one is for those who made it this far. If you've made it to this point in the video, you deserve what comes next. Not because you've been patient, but because the same commitment that brought you here is exactly the virtue that makes this drink work. Deep things only reveal themselves to those who don't give up. And what we're about to share is something very few people in the Western world know. But if you were to travel through the monasteries of Tibet, the long-lived villages of Okinawa, or the communities in the Andes that for centuries have produced some of the most long-lived people on the American continent, you would find different versions of it, all sharing the same essential core. We're talking about chia seed water with lemon, ginger, and turmeric. And before you think you already know chia, let me tell you something. You're probably not using it in the way that truly transforms the body. The chia seed was a sacred food for the Maya and the Aztecs. The word chia in Nahuatl means strength. Warriors and messengers who had to cover enormous distances through difficult terrain carried small pouches of these seeds as their only sustenance for days at a time. This wasn't superstition. It was knowledge accumulated over generations of observing the human body. What modern science has found in chia is remarkable. Its seeds contain plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, soluble fiber in extraordinary amounts, complete proteins, and something especially relevant to this topic: compounds that reduce chronic low-grade systemic inflammation, that silent kind of inflammation that doesn't hurt, but that built up over years deteriorates the environment where stem cells live and multiply. A study published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry showed that regular chia consumption can reduce key inflammatory markers in older adults, creating more favorable conditions for cellular regeneration. But what makes this particular drink special is the combination. When you add lemon, you bring in vitamin C, which the body uses to synthesize collagen and protect cellular DNA. When you add ginger, you introduce gingerols, compounds that fight inflammation and improve circulation to the tissues where stem cells need to do their work. And when you add a small amount of turmeric, you close a circle that we opened with the very first drink in this video. Because these ingredients don't just work on their own. Together, they amplify each other. It's what Ayurvedic medicine calls synergy, and what Tibetan monks understood when they combined ingredients with a precision we might today mistake for intuition, but which was in fact knowledge distilled over centuries. Preparing this drink is very easy. In a large glass of cold or warm water, mix a tablespoon of chia seeds and let them rest for 15 minutes until they form that characteristic transparent gel. Add the juice of half a freshly squeezed lemon, half a teaspoon of freshly grated or powdered ginger, a pinch of turmeric, and a pinch of black pepper to activate it. You can sweeten with honey if you like. Stir well and drink slowly. Ideally, take it in the afternoon as a closing ritual to the active part of your day when the body begins its internal nighttime repair process and needs the best available resources to do it well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Care for yourself with the same attention you would give to someone you love deeply." This drink is that care. It's the sum of ancient traditions in a single glass. It's proof that the secret of longevity wasn't hidden in laboratories, but in the patient wisdom of those who learned to listen to the body before words even existed to name it. And you, who made it this far, now hold that secret. 6 drinks, 6 different ways of speaking to your body in the only language it has always understood, the language of nature. You don't need to take all of them at the same time. You don't need to transform your life overnight. The Stoics knew that real transformation doesn't come in a single moment of revelation, but in the sum of small decisions repeated with intention, sustained with consistency. Start with one. The one that resonated most with you, the one you feel your body was already asking for without you knowing how to listen. And from there, add the others at your own pace, with the respect that every process happening inside you deserves. Because this isn't just a list of drinks, it's an invitation to remember something you may have forgotten along the way, that your body, at 60, at 70, at any age, still has the capacity to renew itself, that the stem cells haven't given up, that the regeneration process hasn't stopped, it just needs you to get on its side. Seneca put it in a way that hasn't aged a single day. No wind is favorable to the sailor who doesn't know where he's going. Today, you know where you're going. Toward a version of yourself that takes care of what you have, that respects the body that has carried you this far, and that understands that longevity isn't inherited, it's built, one sip at a time, one morning after the next. My name is Gabriel, and if this is your first time on this channel, I invite you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the topics coming up. There's so much more to explore together. And to find out who truly made it to the end, I'd love for you to leave the phrase, "My cells are waking up," in the comments. And tell me which country or city you're watching from. I love reading your messages and knowing who's on this journey. Before you go, share this video with someone who needs it. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone you love is knowledge that can change their quality of life. And that gesture, small as it seems, can make an enormous difference. See you in the next video.